on pole position for race 2 of the weekend. Tom Bradshaw, yesterday's winner, second on the grid. Toby Trice will line up third, and Joe Marshall starts fourth. Dan Zelos is on the third row with Sam Harvey for company. Then you have Ethan Hamilton and Oliver Cotton. Next, it's Matt Kyle-Henny and Oliver Meadows with Daniel Lewis and Rhys Summerfield on row 6 of the grid. Then Karim Sekat and Dean Burden are ahead of Ben Mulryan and Jonathan Moore. Lydia Walmsley moving up for the Mini Challenge, and former Ferrari champion Jason Baker next ahead of Paul Porter and Hannah Chapman. Katia Loggy and Alistair Weston come next. That then rounds out the grid. So, 20 minutes are in prospect. The Duckham's liveried car of Jacob Tofts is on pole position. The Duckham's UASA Racing by Graves Motorsport entry on pole position. The drivers now look towards the lighting gantry. In a moment, those lights will go red, engine notes will rise, and any moment we are going to be in business for race 2 of the season in Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain. It is blast off and a good launch made by Jacob Tofts then from pole position on the run down towards Redgate Corner for the first time. But is it going to be good enough to hang on to the advantage then as they turn through the right-hander onto the top of the Craner curves? For the first time they will go. Everybody so far safely through the corner. Tom Bradshaw after the win yesterday also making a good start. And I think Tofts has got a problem because it looked as though there was one slow car, yes, limping out of Redgate, parking at the top of the Craner. So Bradshaw and Trice looking as though they are the top two. But the pole position car then, Jacob Tofts, has ground to a halt seemingly coming out of Redgate. Something I assume has broken in the drive coming off the line. So Bradshaw leading, Trice second, and then in third place Joe Marshall as they come up through McLean's corner for the first time. And if that car of Jacob Tofts can't get going, then we may end up having to have an interruption to the race to get it out of the way. Through Coppice they come for the first time. National circuit in use, we do go safety car, and that's the reason why Jacob Tofts from pole position has indeed ground to a halt at the first corner. Down to the chicane they come, and so Tom Bradshaw, the winner of yesterday's race, is going to have to slow down, bunch everybody up behind him. One or two drivers being a bit more observant of the yellow flags than others, and you can see this is going to take a bit of unravelling as some cars continue to race and overtake, and the message has not got through. The safety car flags and boards are there, but there are going to be one or two rather grumpy people having been overtaken for doing the right thing by slowing down. So race control are going to have to unravel all of that as the cars now go down towards Redgate, the incident zone. And there is Jacob Tofts' car from pole position out of the race, and huge frustration, but it looked as though something just broke mechanically, and it's ground to a halt on the outside line. There's no way the race can carry on with that car there. It needs retrieval, and Jacob Tofts on pole position for the first time, hugely disappointed. Right, all of this is going to eat into the 20 minutes, of course, as the cars come downhill. So Tom Bradshaw leading the way, having had victory in yesterday's race, the Toro Verde entrant. He's been a regular in Porsches over the last few seasons, and there Jacob Tofts being consoled, but the trudge back to the pit lane comes, and hopefully that car can be made good for later on, but even if it is, it's going to be from a lowly grid position. So a really good chance, sadly, is not wasted by Jacob per se, but it is wasted because the opportunity to convert that into a win goes against him. Let's have a look off the line. It looked like a good launch, got away nicely, and then as he goes up through the gears, suddenly something just doesn't happen. Whether it was a gearbox problem or a drive shaft problem, either way, the car just lost drive. He goes back in the pack, and so as they turn into Redgate Corner, it is Tom Bradshaw that leads the way, but Jacob Tofts' car crawls to Redgate a little bit further back on the grid. 25, Matt Kyle-Henny makes a decent launch down towards Redgate, but by that stage already Jacob Tofts' car, you can see, has some momentum, but it's really just coasting now down towards Redgate, and it's coming out of the corner where it all grinds to a halt. So Tom Bradshaw led onto the top of the Craner curves. Toby Trice tucked up behind him, and there you can see Jacob Tofts' car getting slower and slower and slower, crawls out of Redgate, and it gets to about there on the top of the Craners at Hollywood, and that was that. So safety car deployed, safety car on track. Out of the chicane, over the timing line they come, and down towards Redgate. Green flag conditions with 13 minutes on the clock. Heading into the braking zone for Redgate. Tom Bradshaw leads the way. Toby Trice trying to go with him, and then Joe Marshall in third spot then as they swing their way onto the top of the Craner curves once again. They've had relatively little racing opportunity thus far, but here down through the crane as they go, and Bradshaw, Trice, Marshall getting away slightly from Danzilos in 4th place. Toby Trice, very experienced in these cars, sitting on the back of Tom Bradshaw, second-generation racer. His father very quick in single-seaters years ago, and more recently in historic sports cars. But Toby Trice is very definitely taking the battle to Tom Bradshaw now. Looks sitting right on the back of him as they head up through the right-hander of McLean's. This is bringing Joe Marshall, the Cheshire driver, back into the mix as well. Bradshaw leading them. Toby Trice tucked right up behind. Toby Trice, the fastest train driver around, comes on the back of the race-leading Tom Bradshaw down towards the chicane. This is lap number 5. He's close enough, is he, to make a move? No, not quite, not quite. About a car's length too far back, but he's keeping Marshall at bay. Bradshaw then in charge as they come up towards the line. Yesterday, Joe Marshall, the man that's third, got the fastest lap of the race, so don't rule him out. We know he's got good pace. The leaders go over the line, down towards Redgate. Dust kicked up in the background by some of the RS Am category cars. And 3 for the lead, might just be coming 4. Danzilos now regrouping, fighting back, 1.2 seconds away from the leader. There he is in 4th place as they go down through the Craner curves. Danzilos and another of the Graves Motorsport cars then goes through towards the old hairpin. But for Toro Verde GT, it is Tom Bradshaw leading the way. Now, Trice second, did do the fastest lap last time. You see 98 Oliver Cotton go through there. The livery reflecting the hippie Porsche 917 of years past, and he is under attack, look, as they come to the plains. So is Tom Bradshaw under attack as well, up the hill, now into Coppice. Nudging towards halfway on this lap. Marshall drops back a little bit with Zelos and Hamilton, and then Oliver Cotton behind. It is number 70 of Sam Harvey sitting on the tail of the hippie liveried Cayman, but the 2 leaders coming out of Coppice have really shaken off Marshall, and that's good news for Trice because it means he can concentrate purely on attacking for the race lead, doesn't need to think about what's going on behind. And so now, as they come over the line up front, it is Tom Bradshaw then in the lead by 0.369 of a second. He's just done the fastest lap of the race, but he's being matched pretty much by Toby Trice. They're only hundredths apart as they get to the top of the Craners once again. Marshall being caught now by Danzilos. And there, Cottam just ahead of Harvey, and then Oliver Meadows, number 88. Now, he's a class-leading 8th overall, but he's going to get mixed up with the pros. That's the leading Am, and he wants to get on with the job here because he needs to get away from Rhys Summerfield, who's right on his tail. There, look, in the white, green and orange car. Rhys Summerfield is another of the RS Am class drivers, so he's pitching for a class lead. And if 88, Oliver Meadows, can get himself mixed up in the pros, he might put a car between himself and Summerfield by way of protection. To Coppice they come, through the right-hander, the race-leading gap, 0.369 of a second at the start of this lap, and that is what it looks like at the end of it. Trice close again, but not quite close enough to make a move as he breaks now for the chicane, goes right, goes left, and then up towards the line. Through they come. So Toby Trice, remember he had a couple of years ago a sizable accident at Silverstone that knocked him about and derailed the end of his season, but he's regrouped, and here one of the title favourites going into this season. Bradshaw still just under 4/10 ahead. Big dive on the inside there. Look, going into Redgate, Ben Mulryan passing Rhys Summerfield on the inside. Nice move, nicely executed, goes by. And so now Ben Mulryan is up into 9th place overall. He's another of the RS Pro drivers. Now that has just done a really big favour to Oliver Meadows, because that, for the moment at least, puts a Pro class car between himself and Summerfield. In other words, his class opposition. So Meadows now has a little bit of a buffer. Okay, it may well be that before long, Mulryan is on the attack to try to get past Meadows, but for now, at least there's one car between them. 82 on the attack as well there. Look, Lydia Walmsley. Now, at the start of the lap, she was in charge in the Club Sport Pro category, and Lydia now onto the back of number 12. Now that means that we've had a change for the class lead. Jonathan Moore has gone ahead in number 12 there. Look, going into Coppice, another of the Toro Verde GT cars. So Lydia Walmsley trying to retake the class lead as they come now down Starkey Straight. The leaders are at the end of the pit straight going into Redgate, and it is Bradshaw ahead of Trice. The gap between them is 0.301 of a second. Toby Trice close, but is he going to be close enough to make a move before the end of the race? Replay here. This is a bit of a moment at the old hairpin for number 12 of Jonathan Moore. Goes wide and gets a tap in the back from Lydia Walmsley. Nowhere really that she could go there, but hopefully that won't have done damage to her car. Porsche's front, we know, are rather sensitive. There's the hippie livery going through, adorning Oliver Cottam's car. And for the race lead, it's game on with 8 minutes to go. Toby Trice now, really for the first time, is starting to go on full attack mode against Tom Bradshaw. to the outside at Coppice. Wide in, tight out, tries to get the undercut, and the game, he's a foot now. Up the inside goes Trice, he's going to do it. Beautiful move, through on the inside line. Bradshaw tries to brave it out on the outside, coming down to the chicane. It's going to be the last of the late breakers. Bradshaw is back ahead, but he's got the wrong line. Toby Trice on the inside goes through into the lead. Excellent move. Toby Trice is sideways out of the chicane as he floors the throttle, but he is ahead then as they come to the line. He's had 2 outright wins in the championship in the past as Toby Trice, and he might be on for a third as Bradshaw slips back behind him. And then in third place, Joe Marshall has caught back up. This, you can see just how committed to try to defend Tom Bradshaw was, braving it out on the outside. They lean on each other a little bit, but at the braking area, inside line claimed by Trice. Through he goes, and there, sideways the other side of the chicane. Great stuff. In the meantime here, look, Oliver Cottam is under attack. Harvey, Meadows, Mulryan all in a queue behind him as they drop down to the chicane. Sam Harvey, number 70, he is coming under attack from Ben Mulryan in number 11 as they accelerate up towards the line. Tom Bradshaw now being warned about track limit offences, but this huge battle pack of, 6 cars comes over the line. That takes you all the way down to 11th, and Matt Kyle Henney up the inside goes Mulryan on the inside line for Redgate, and 7th place should be his coming off the corner, but he makes contact there, and that puts Sam Harvey onto the grass. And he has to back out of that and just let the car roll back towards the circuit. Good recovery, but more places lost then as he had to back out of the throttle and just coax it back to the road. Rhys Summerfield has a moment at the old hairpin and goes wide, and Matt Kyle Henney gets past him. Loads happening. Right, how did it all start? So Mulryan unwinds the steering, sort of heads into the path really there of Sam Harvey. They touch, but it was Harvey that came off worse. Onto the grass he goes. And eventually has to let the car glide back onto the circuit. Now look at this gap that Toby Trice has pulled. 5.5 minutes are on the clock, and he is now getting away. Down to the chicane. Go right, go left, up towards the timing line. Trice up front, and 0.4 of a second clear he was last year. And then a very northwest battle going on behind. Tom Bradshaw from Greater Manchester, Cheshire driver Joe Marshall behind him. Half a second between those. And then here is the big fight for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Rhys Summerfield has fallen back, as you can see, after that moment down at the old hairpin, and he is being chased now by Daniel Lewis, number 19, as the leaders go through, out of Redgate, onto the top of the Craners once again. Battle well and truly joined. Matt Kyle Henney finds a gap on the inside, thought about it, kept thinking, doesn't really commit. There was just about room, and he's still thinking about it on the outside line as they approach once. Very nearly getting run out of road there by Oliver Meadows, but Matt Kyle Henney just stands his ground, and that gives him the inside line for McLean's. He should get the place coming out the other side of the corner, but not quite. He's got the inside line for Coppice. Is finally this going to be the part of the racetrack where it works for him? Yes, it is. Matt Kyle Henney goes through, and that puts him into the class lead of the RS Am category. So Matt Kyle Henney goes by, it puts him 8th overall, but more importantly, a class lead with 4 minutes and change on the clock. Down they come into the braking zone. So that means they've paired off a bit. You can see now how Oliver Cottam and Ben Mulryan have gone away up the road. They are both in RS Pro. Then a gap, and Matt Kyle Henney, new class leader, comes through ahead of Oliver Meadows. Change imminent here. Up the inside goes Mulryan. Late on the brakes, but a good pass that as he goes through. Ben was Fiesta Junior champion 2 years ago. And bear in mind, he started 15th on the grid. This has been quite a drive by Ben Mulryan. He's up into the top 6 now. Drive of the race, I think, possibly this. And gets all sideways at the old hairpin. He's in danger of running out wide as we look at the leaders going to McLean's. Let's have a little look back and see who survived out of the old hairpin. It's quite a long wait. It's just Ben Mulryan ahead. So he's hung on to the place, but he has another wobble into McLean's. It gets all crossed up under braking. Oliver Cottam not able to take advantage of that. He was kind of in the wheel tracks. They head uphill once again. Brake, turn right. 3 minutes to go now. Big drama there, as off into the gravel has gone Alistair Westham. That's at Coppice, and he's done some damage there. Look, he's obviously hit something before he got to the gravel. Something or somebody. So we'll try and piece that together. This is Mulryan into the chicane. 3 minutes to go now. Through they come, over the timing line. Toby Trice getting away slightly further. 0.4 of a second up the road. He is now down to Redgate. Out of the draft pulls Oliver Cottam, then he pulls back in again. Oliver's grandfather Alan was a very prodigious historic Grand Prix car racer a good few years ago. And here is the replay of Alistair Weston getting it wrong. It looked as though the front was damaged, but actually that replay suggests that he didn't hit anything. The damage has just been done by him going through the gravel. So the car ensnared in the gravel bed. The gravel has done its job. It stopped the car from further damage, but it ain't going to get out of there. So Alistair Weston out of the race. Ben Mulryan here, coming up towards McLean's. And the next corner after that is Coppice. So that'll be a yellow flag zone as you look at Matt Kyle-Henny, who is now getting away from Oliver Meadows on for a class win. There you can see the yellow light panels flashing, the yellow flag showing as well. Leader comes into the chicane. We're going to have time for 2 more laps here and a back marker just up the road as well. Katia Logie, I suspect, is about to be lapped by Toby Trice. Down they come, heading into the braking zone at Redgate. So we've got 1 minute and 48 on the clock. A lap time is around the 68 seconds mark. And the gap's coming down again. Tom Bradshaw, good round Redgate as Toby Trice just had to hesitate behind the slower car. And that brings Bradshaw back into the mix as they go through. Down they come into the old hairpin. Bradshaw breaks late. Can't go round the outside. He needs to duck up the inside and try and stand his ground all the way to McLean's. Trice goes a little bit wide out of the old hairpin. Here comes Bradshaw. The move starts now on the outside to get the inside line for this next corner. He's gone back through. Tom Bradshaw retakes the lead, then goes wide and Trice gets back at him. Fantastic stuff. Toby Trice retakes the lead. Tom Bradshaw, 1 up and 1 back. He's down in second, and he also seems to struggle coming out of the corner, having gone in too deep. There was a bit of a wobble as he came up the other side of it, and he had to drop down a gear, I think, to get the momentum back. So the net result of that with a lap to run, it's going to be that Toby Trice has a bigger gap, but great race between the two. Out of the chicane they come. Over the line, so Toby Trice still leads. And now 45 seconds on the clock means we're on to the last lap. Over the line he goes. Bradshaw, good in a straight line. Late on the brakes, but this time he won't have the advantage of a back marker to try to help him. Round Redgate they come. Back onto the top of the Craner curves now. As they drop down the hill, it was just under 0.6 of a second between this top two. And look at the way they've dropped Joe Marshall in third. He's not quite in the clutches of Dan Zelos. Ethan Hamilton runs 5th. And then 6th that way back there, Ben Mulryan going through shot ahead of Oliver Cottam, Matt Kyle-Henny and Oliver Meadows, who's coming back at MKH on this last lap going for a class win. So for the last time they head to McLean's, out of which has already come Toby Trice as the leader outright. And Toby, who was 4th yesterday, is on target for a 3rd win. This battle in Am is going to go down to the wire, and Bradshaw is not done yet. He's good through Coppice. He's quick on the run down Starkey Straight, but he's not quite close enough to think about attacking into the chicane. Nearly, but not quite. Checkered flag at the ready, and so for round 2 of Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain, it is going to be a win for Toby Trice at Donington. 2nd, Tom Bradshaw. 3rd goes the way of Joe Marshall ahead of Dan Zelos and Ethan Hamilton. Then 6th, Ben Mulryan ahead of Oliver Cottam. Matt Kyle-Henny scores a victory, his 2nd of the weekend, so 2 out of 2 in the AM class ahead then of Oliver Meadows, Rhys Summerfield, Daniel Lewis and the recovering Sam Harvey. Now we also need to see Jonathan Moore as a class winner, do we? Because he was staying ahead of Lydia Walmsley last lap. Very happy clean racing team there. That's the team that operates Toby Trice's car, but also Matt Kyle-Henny. So 2 out of 2.